out these members of the Poop Troop. Citizen Guardian, a fish is in Lowe's life. My Aussie gardening kitchen, Dusty Data, Garden State Gardener, Ginger Ninja, Gray Man Prepping, Buttercup, Viper, Bob 942, Mama Bear Prepping, Gardener Josh, The Big Blue House Homestead, Cut for It, Sandra Moody, Rocky Mountain High, Recyclable Homestead, RamblinRoseHomestead.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Garden Talk with Courtney. How is everybody doing this evening? I see a lot of people already in here. Kaylin, Homestead Aquarius. Looks like we have Gardener Josh, Crazy Ed Homestead, Viper, Q Kitchen, and Beyond. Who else we got up in here? There's just a ton of people. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We have, Geeky Gardens. Geeky Gardens, thank you so much for being here. And we have Gray Man Prepping. Hello, Gil. Thank you so much for being here. Trish is here. Hey, what's up, girl? It's good to see everybody this evening. I hope you all can hear me just okay. I couldn't hear myself there for a second. We're good. Okay, so we got a lot of things going on. After we're done with the show, we are going to head on over to Gray Man Prepping or Gil. Gil, if you want to go ahead and put in your link, that would be great. I'm not going to do an after party tonight because Gil is doing a thing over there and I didn't want to interrupt. So we're going to go ahead and after this, we are going to go ahead and swing on over to Gil's and have a good time over there. Let's see. Oh yeah. If you join the Poop Troop, it's only 99 cents a month. You can be a member of Wide Family Farm and you can get all those emojis. Your name can be on the screen and everything else. So it's a lot of fun, not to mention members chats, stuff like that. Gil just put out his live that's going to go on. So if you guys want to head on over there after this, that would be greatly appreciated. Show the man a little bit of love. Okay. All right. So I'm going to bring up this next guest. I've been watching them for a while and they're good people. He's good people. And I'm bringing him up. We're going to learn a little bit about hydroponics tonight and a little bit about Cajun hydroponics. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up our guest. And here he is.
How you doing, Courtney?
How are you doing? You doing good?
Doing good.
That's good. What's the temperature like there right now? Is it pretty hot? Yeah.
It's
today it was weird. Our weather has been so weird. It was actually kind of cool today. It was strange for the end of July.
My stepdaughter's up there right now with her grandparents and her dad. And she's enjoying it. She's enjoying it a lot.
Yeah, today it was like really cool out. It was nice. It was a really nice day. It was a little chilly. I was watering plants and I got wet a little bit. Like my feet and stuff got wet, and I was like, "Oh man, that's kind of cold."
I got wet over here, but I was sweating. The heat index was about 99 today.
Yeah. Oh wow, that's hot.
Yeah, the humidity was right up around 90%. It was bad. There was no clouds in the sky, so the sun was baking. It was just bad all around. Yeah. But we finally got a couple days with no rain. So
now you're originally you're from Louisiana, but you have connections up here, right?
I'm from Louisiana. I married a woman from up there in Ohio. I actually went to work 10 years ago. I took a job in Ohio. It was supposed to be 6 to 8 weeks. Stayed 3 years and came back with a wife and a stepdaughter. And nice. Now we have a son together. So
okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. from what I know, from what I've heard about you and how where the location is only about an hour or so away from me.
My wife's from Zanesville.
Yeah,
And
that's not too far from me at all.
Yeah, I
So
was
that's
working
pretty
in
cool.
Steubenville, Ohio when I was up there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's not far from me at all.
No, y'all got a lot of nice
south of me.
country.
Yeah.
Y'all have a lot of nice country.
Yeah, it's
the winter's
you know, I've lived other places, but Ohio's it's pretty good. I mean, I like Kentucky too, but Ohio's pretty nice
I'll take
place.
the heat in Louisiana over the overcast where we were, because it was like 6 months and it was overcast. You might see the sun for 3 or 4 days in 6 months. It was, you know, living in Louisiana is just so depressing for me, you know, with not getting any sun or seeing the sun, just the overcast and the snow.
Yeah, we never see sun here. Rarely. It's always cloudy. And yeah, they said that we're actually almost, if not more cloudy than Seattle, Washington. So
wow.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I'm Cajun. I had never been in any part, you know, besides the South, Texas and Florida and Mississippi. So when I got up there, it was, I mean, we left over here. It was when I went to work up there, we were swimming over here in swimming pools. I get over there and it's still, you know, in the 30s at night. So it was a big change for me.
Yeah, it's a big jump. Also the growing zones are a big jump, because I was watching some of your videos and I noticed that you have plants and stuff that we can never even think about growing here. The dragon fruit was one of them. What exactly does a dragon fruit taste like? I've seen it in the stores, but I've never bought it.
There's different ones, different varieties. The ones in the stores are more commercially produced. So they're not going to have the flavor as some of the more, some of them just don't put out as much fruit as others, you know, like everything else, but you have better quality of flavor. But there's a local guy here from Spicy Exotics. He's about 30 miles north of me, where I got most of my cuttings from. And each one has a slightly different taste. Some of them taste like pineapple. Some of them taste like sour apple Jolly Ranchers. And we actually have after I get off here tonight, I have a flower I have to go outside and pollinate. Dragon fruit is a night blooming cactus, and they only open at night. We don't have any pollinators here in Louisiana at night. So we have to go outside, take the pollen with the brush and, you know, actually pollinate itself, or repollinate it. It won't pollinate itself.
That's really interesting. Now, is there a male and female flower?
No.
Is that how that works? Or
there's not a male and female flower, but some of them are self-sterile and other ones are self-fertile. The ones that are self-fertile, you can pollinate the self-sterile ones. But the ones that are self-sterile, the pollen's just pollen. You know, it's not much else you can do with it.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's really cool. That kind of makes the dragon fruit kind of like a rarity.
It's just starting to really hit the big stage. It's considered, or they're looking at it as one of the superfoods with the vitamins and nutrition and minerals, and it's really good. You know, some of them will taste like wood or taste like dirt, like, you know, some things, and then others just taste amazing. Some of them have as high as like a 20 or a 19 on the brick scale, the sugar scale. So it's really sweet. The ones that are more sweet don't have as much flavor to them, but they do have a good taste. The ones that taste bad don't have sugar, and they're not. They don't have really good flavor either.
Oh, that's really cool. I've never had like a cat. Like, I know you can eat various different types of cactuses and stuff like that, and we have a cactus that grows up here. Oh God, I can't think of the name right now. Prickly pear grows up here, and I used to have a bunch of it. But it's really, really hard to remove it and hard to touch it. Like, it's a big deal. You have to pick it up with newspaper, because if you don't, you got it doesn't look like there's thorns and stuff like that. You think, oh, they just have those long things. No, they have like these little thin hairs.
Fur thorns, yeah.
Yeah.
And they get stuck in you.
Yes.
I've been working on them. I let them go back, get kind of out of hand, the dragon fruit that I have. I kind of got upset with them after we had an Arctic front that passed through, and it hit them really hard. I was at work and I wasn't able to put the heat Even though we are able to grow them here in South Louisiana, we have to move them inside or in a greenhouse for the wintertime. They don't like to be below 30 degrees
Oh,
for
okay.
any period of time. Really, you try to keep them above 40, 45 degrees. So what I do is during the wintertime, I put them in my garage. And
Oh, okay.
I wasn't home. They don't grow, but you don't have to hardly water them. I watered them one time last year, but they got out of hand. It really got out of hand. I actually I cut right at 200 cuttings off of them that were growing. So I'm going to be putting those in pots and trying to propagate them to where I can put, because I know that's not why we're here, but I put them in 25-gallon pots, and in the 25-gallon pot, you can put 4 to 5 plants in it for them to grow. And most of them only have 1 or 2. So I'm trying to get to the 4 or 5 plants in every pot to maximize the production off of it.
Oh, okay. Well, that's really interesting. Trish said when she was younger that she fell into a prickly pear cactus.
Oh my.
Yeah, that does not sound fun. My husband thought if he wore leather gloves, he could pick it up. And he took off the leather gloves and he had the prickles all over in his hand. The only thing that would take him out is duct tape. So you put duct tape on it and then he just, ripped it out. But yeah, for the most part, they're horrible. They're beautiful. They have beautiful flowers and stuff, but they're quite nasty.
The flowers are beautiful. And like I said, we actually have one that's going to be open and I have to go outside and pollinate it. This one right here, the one we had earlier, I think it was about 9 days ago, we had one open. The flower was about 7 inches. This one looks like it's going to be 9 to 12 inches when it's fully open. They're really beautiful. The fruit, it's nice to have the pretty flower and, get the fruit from it.
Right. It's just nice living in an area where you can grow things that are just super cool like that. Like, I've always wanted to grow bananas and stuff like that. You can grow, I know the Broussards said they had a couple banana trees.
Yeah.
I don't know how far they live from you, but
they're actually about 35 miles north of me, and then probably another 15, 20 miles to the west. So they're kind of northwest of me.
Okay.
The banana trees, we right on the border. If we don't have an early winter, then we normally have, the bananas would work small bundles of them.
Yeah.
So a lot of people just grow the banana trees around here for kind of like yard ornaments or, the leaves and stuff in the yard. They don't quite get to the point where they produce bananas.
Yeah. Huh. That's pretty cool. But yeah, it's early. I've never been to Louisiana. At some point in my life, I would like to go. I just never have been. There's a lot of historical things that I would like to see there. And I'm a big history fan. So, I would like to go there someday, but
my wife's family came down a couple of times, and there's not, in the area I'm at, there's not a whole bunch. I don't do New Orleans. So every time they come down, take us to New Orleans. No, I'm not going. It's too dangerous. It's not my cup of tea. We do live probably 30 minutes from the Tabasco McElhenney plant. So that's a nice, visit. And there's also a kind of a refuge attached with it that you can drive around and look, but you don't want to do that during the summertime.
Yeah.
It's hot.
Is Louisiana, do they grow coffee there as well?
No,
they don't.
Not that I know of. I mean, some people might try, but I think the humidity is not, there's too much humidity.
Huh, that's interesting. Hello, CB. Hello, Mama J. I see y'all in the chat. Thank you for coming in. Okay, so we talked a little bit about dragon fruit and all those different types of cactuses, and that's kind of cool. And let's go ahead and we'll get into the hydroponics of it all. So I'm very curious into hydroponics, but the thing that deters me, I think, a little bit is the cost. So how expensive is it to get started? Say for like an average person, say Viper wanted to start hydroponics in his apartment.
Well, it depends, how eccentric you want to get with it, or, it all starts with what you want to grow. If you want to start it in your apartment, you're probably going to be growing lettuce or leafy greens, stuff like that. So that would probably be some type of a cracky method, or maybe even a small nutrient film technology. Cracky is you just get a bucket or a tote, drill some holes in the top, put some net cups with your seed in it, and you fill it up with the solution, and it grows. When you reach a point of time where you're say 25 days, 35 days, whatever it is for your lettuce, you take your lettuce out or your leafy greens, and then you clean it up, start again with it. Nutrient film technology is a little bit simpler and but it's a little bit more time consuming. With nutrient film technology, you have a pump that runs. You can use a downspout from a gutter, and you have a pump that starts from your tank, and it pumps it into that gutter, and it goes and it just drains back. It's a constantly recirculating system.
So it's kind of like a fish tank.
You can have a fish tank or a 20 gallon bucket from Lowe's, a tote. And it just recirculates it. You use an Oasis cube or a Rockwool cube with your seed, and it just everything your plant grows out of it. The extra work comes in where you have to monitor your ppm, because you're not changing. It's not just to set it and forget it. You have to monitor your ppm. Maybe every week or two. Every 4 to 6 weeks, you replace your fertilizer solution in it, because your nutrients will stack up. Your plants take up what they need. I use the Master Blend formula. So your plants will take up what they need. When you readjust it, because your ppms will drop down, they'll still have other ppm in there, but you don't know what it is. So every 4 to 6 weeks, you want to replace that. Take that, clean your bucket real good, and start again with fresh solution, because your ppm might be showing the proper where it needs to be, but you might have excess nitrogen or excess potassium or something in your water that's causing nutrient lockout. So your plants won't take up the nutrients they need, and they won't grow properly.
Now, all of this stuff that you're throwing together and you're putting in the buckets and you're putting in the water, is that good for you? Is that okay? It's not like anything we don't get from normal plants, or?
It's fertilizer. If you use chemical fertilizer, I call it chemical fertilizer. That's what it is. Triple 13, Miracle Grow, any type of non-organic fertilizer is a chemical fertilizer. If you're okay with using that in your garden, is the same thing. You just, I use PVC pipe to push my nutrients into the buckets. Well, let me start back. The system I use is a Dutch bucket system. It's a recirculating system, but it's not a constant recirculating system. But
is this on your video that you wanted to show? Okay, well then, how long did you say it was? Like 3 minutes?
It's only 3 minutes, but I mean, you could just show a little. I don't even remember what the whole video was. It just, you could show a minute or so with the just the buckets and some of the tomatoes and stuff in it.
Okay. I'll go ahead and play that, because I think that's super cool, and I'll educate our audience a little bit here. Let me figure out how to do this.
While you're doing that, I use Master Blend. Okay.
Nope, there we go. And let me turn up the volume here.
You could probably jump forward. Right there, that's just some, that was a trial I was using. Those are actually the Dutch bucket with single stem tomatoes on it. You can see the little black hoses going into each of the buckets. That's the feeder tubes. If you want to pause it at one of the buckets when we can see.
Oh, of course, I hit the wrong thing. Good job, Courtney. I apologize. It's been a minute since I did this. Hold on.
Pause it right
Pause. There we go. Is that good?
That's
kind of good, right?
Yeah, you can kind of see the little on the upper. Let's see.
Maybe we can do that.
There we go. You can see the little black tube that goes in. that is coming from the tank that's in the ground. I have a tank that's set in the ground, 150-gallon tank. And there's a pump in there. It pumps the fertilizer solution from there into an inch-and-a-half pipe, then into the 3/4-inch PVC, then into the bucket. It pumps water for 30 minutes at a time, 3 times a day. The water, the buckets are filled with perlite. And the water actually doesn't absorb in the perlite, but it attaches to the outside of the perlite. And there's about 1.5 inches, 2 inches of free flow on the bottom. The water will stay in there. And then after that, the excess overflows. It goes back into the 4-inch lines, the green or bluish pipe you can see. Then that drains back into each of the tanks. And
Mama J, you're never too old to do this kind of stuff. If you want to do this, try it.
This system is a little bit more complicated. It seems more complicated because of the setup and talking about it and everything. I tell everybody, if you can mix chocolate milk, you can mix hydroponic solution. It's that easy.
Can you do hydroponics organically or no?
You can, but you don't get the same. You don't get the same results, and it's more expensive to run. I have talked to some people that said, I've never tried it. I've talked to people that's, they're more involved with it, but it's a lot more. You still don't receive the same amount of fruit per plant that you would, with the chemical fertilizers. But they said the organics is getting better, but it's a lot more detailed and a lot harder to get everything like you need it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of it's not in my wheelhouse right now. If they ever make a blend similar to Master Blend and the price is close to where I'm getting about the same amount of production out of it, then I'll be more than happy to. But right now, I think we spent about, I think it was $150 or $200 on fertilizer this year between all the fertilizer we used, and we got about 1,400 pounds of tomatoes out of the 2 greenhouses.
Wow. So what is the difference between a homegrown tomato from the ground and a tomato grown hydroponically? Is there a taste difference?
If there can be, and that's a lot of people automatically assume that, a hydroponic or even just growing in a greenhouse, that the flavor won't be there because of the heat, because of, all the micronutrients and stuff like that. I actually had people, we started selling them because we were just overburdened with tomatoes this year. So we started selling some, and the people, we put hydroponic tomatoes. Nobody looked at it. We sold them through Facebook. Nobody looked at it. When they get up to the house, it was amazing. They wanted to walk and look through it and everything, but they were kind of standoffish about it because they were worried about the flavor. Yeah. They all called back. We only had one person that didn't come back. And I tell this story all the time. My grandmother never wanted to have any of the tomatoes we had out the greenhouse. She was in the nursing home, and she knew it was about time to start getting tomatoes out the garden. She asked for some tomatoes, so my wife brought her some, but it was out the greenhouse, and she this is the best tomatoes I've ever eaten, and she's, Sheena told her, it's that was out of the greenhouse. Oh, there's no way. So if my mom says it's good, it's good, and I mean,
thank you for coming in and hanging out with us. And Terry.
It's really, what you put into it. You can cut back on your fertilizer, not spend so much fertilizer. You can make some beautiful plants that have no taste.
Yeah, because that's what a lot of people tell me. When you get them in the grocery store or something, they're like, oh man, I got those hydroponic tomatoes and all they do is taste like water.
Yeah.
And that's why I was curious.
Yeah. And I mean, that you can introduce more water. You can run your system more often, and the tomatoes will have more water in them, and they won't quite be as flavorful. You have to find that happy medium, and it changes a little bit throughout the year with the different amounts of temperatures you have, and controlling the atmosphere in your greenhouse will give you better variety and better flavor of your tomatoes.
How many greenhouses do you have?
I have 2 greenhouses, and I'll be putting up a third one. It was supposed to be one 34 by 60 greenhouse, and it's in town. I'm like 1 street over from the dead center of town. So somebody didn't like it.
Of course, you always have somebody, don't you?
It's in my front yard, and I mean, they're in my front yard. There was no room in the backyard to put them. I had spoke with the mayor at the time, and he's like, "Oh, you don't even need a permit for that. Put it up. We'll be happy to eat your tomatoes. You're going to sell a few of them." Well, by the time I got them up, there was an election, and he lost, and they brought in a new guy for the inspector, and it was a big mess. So my 34 by 60 greenhouse turned into 3 14-foot 6 by 34 greenhouses, because I have to stay under 500 square feet, because it's a secondhand greenhouse, and I can't get a 150 mile an hour wind rating on a secondhand greenhouse.
So I got a question though. This was our first experience this year with a greenhouse. Obviously down there it gets hot, and it gets hot fast. And how do you keep your plants from frying in the greenhouse?
Part of the issue I was having, the greenhouses are shut down right now because the heat, the excess heat we're having. That's all right. My shade, I ordered shade cloths. That's something you can use on your greenhouses, is shade cloth to reduce the amount of heat in them. Then you also want to put roll up sides, or sides that you could take off and on to let it vent out. You want windows or screens up at the upper parts to where you get the convection. You'll have the heat at the top, and it'll pull in cooler air and pull it out. You can also use fans and stuff to help circulate the air and all that. They normally say around 90 to 95 degrees with about 75-80% humidity. Your flowers won't pollinate well, because the pollen inside gets sticky on your tomatoes, and they won't pollinate. We hadn't seen that this year. We actually we're up to 110, 115 degrees in the greenhouse because the shade cloth hadn't come in, and we were still getting decent, pollen. The pollinization was still doing well, but we were using an obscene amount of fertilizer and water. We used 1,700 gallons in 2 weeks at one point. So that's a lot. Yeah, it is. And the thing about the greenhouse, the hydroponics, is the tomatoes take up what they want. If they just need water, they're only going to pull up the water. They're not going to take in the fertilizer solution. Yeah. So you have to monitor the fertilizer in the tank, because it can actually cause nutrient lockout if it gets too hot. When we did that 1,700 gallons in 2 weeks, I hadn't pruned any leaves off of my plants in about 5-6 weeks. So the more greenery you have on it, the more perspiration the plant's going to take up, or the more perspiration the plant's going to do. So you're going to use a lot more water.
Yeah.
It's trying to keep the leaves alive. The leaves are also perspiring because they're venting off moisture from it.
Do you have any ways of reusing your water once it's done?
Well,
or filter it out or anything like that?
What I do is I take it at the 4 to 6 week point, and I clean it out 4 to 6 weeks. I try to do it at 4 weeks. It works out well on my work schedule at the 4 weeks, 4 to 5 weeks. And I take it out. And when I take it out, I just put it out in my raised beds. I have 250 gallon totes sitting over there, to where if I have too much at one time, I try to make it to where I only have about 150 gallons. So I'll take it and, pump it from the greenhouses to the backyard with hoses into a tote tank, and then I'll spread it out in the raised beds.
Oh, okay.
To
so
reuse.
You use it twice.
Yes.
Basically.
Well, you're actually using it every day. You'll lose water and fertilizer because the plants uptake it. Yeah. So every day, but it's recirculating. Whatever the plants don't use in the bucket, it just recirculates, and it's there for it to be used again at the next time it pumps.
That's really cool. Now you used to do tomatoes. Do you do anything else hydroponically?
We tried some zucchini, different types of squash, and some different types of eggplants this year.
Oh.
They did okay. We probably needed to do a little bit more hand pollinating. With the tomatoes, we didn't have to hand pollinate anything. We actually didn't even shake the plants this year just to see how it would work out. And we had a bumper crop. It was amazing.
Yeah.
We do want to try different things because of the shape of the greenhouse and the lower sides. The main thing with hydroponics, especially in the Dutch buckets, is you want to get the most bang for your square footage. So like in the wintertime, we're not planting anything this fall because we have to add the pipes in for the heaters, the natural gas pipe, and we have to finish running the electricity. I ran the whole springtime. I've been running off an extension cord from my house.
Oh,
so
man.
we need to run all that and get everything. So we still have the third greenhouse to put together. So we're not going to do anything this fall this year. But I went blank. I lost what the question was. That happens a lot. I'm Cajun.
It's okay. Basically, I was asking. Well, we were.
Oh well, yeah. The bang for your buck.
Exactly.
We have 1,000 square feet. We don't want to plant cabbage in the greenhouse. It's a long-term growth with very little benefits to having it in the greenhouse.
It could get really hot in there and probably destroy everything too.
Even during the fall, in the fall we could plant them outside in the raised beds and get basically the same production that we would in the greenhouse.
Yeah.
To where we could plant a tomato plant in the greenhouse and get 50, 40 pounds of tomatoes off of the plant over the same period of time that it would take for the head of lettuce to grow, where you might get a 7 to 8 pound, a head of cabbage, where you might get a 7 to 8 pound head of cabbage out of it.
Yeah.
Some people have some really good luck growing peppers. We have a bad issue with aphids around here because of the sugarcane crops. They're just full of aphids. Good. Yeah, they're just full of aphids, and sugarcane's all over around us. So with my work schedule, the amount of time and the neem oil, to me, I'd rather plant the peppers outside and just take the chance of getting what we get.
Dude, I thought my peppers this year, I thought they were going to not do anything. And we added 400 square feet onto our garden and raised bed space. And I planted a bunch of peppers. I planted, cayenne and Tabasco and Great Northern. And there's this one Espen something. And I absolutely, I love that pepper. It is so good. It's really good pepper. So we planted it and they were turning yellow. Everything was bad. I was like, oh my God, we're going to lose all of our peppers. I'm not going to get any. Then my husband we went and got a load of rabbit manure. We filled all the beds with that and filled all around them. The only thing is I don't know which peppers are which now because my signs are all covered up by rabbit poop. And then Uncle Al, he told me to put Epsom salts around them. I put Epsom, and now they're doing beautiful. I got blossoms on them. I'm like, yes. I'm like, I'm gonna get a good, and they look great. They look great. Yeah. So I'm gonna get a good crop of peppers this year, but I really, really thought it was going to lose them all.
Epsom salt's great. That's one of the portions in the master blend fertilizer for the hydroponics. It is Epsom salt, magnesium sulfate. It works great. Peppers love it. They really do. That's always a plus to add.
Can you overdo it?
I don't think you can overdo it with the plants, but you can cause issues down the road with your soil.
Okay. So just do it every once in a while.
Yeah, but a lot of people say a tablespoon per plant.
I just kind of sprinkled it all over. I was like, please save my peppers, please.
It's a fresh bed. You know what I'm saying? You haven't been doing that for 4 or 5 years, taking 5 pounds of magnesium sulfate and spreading it down a 50-foot row, 4 or 5 times a year. It's not anything that's going to really harm your beds. And most of the time in a raised bed, it'll flush down into the lower sections into your actual ground dirt and everything else like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we take, and with the raised beds, we didn't get to do it this year because we've just been really busy. My wife's job, supposed to be 6-7 hours a day, and some days it's 9-10 hours a day. So a lot of the stuff, the raised beds basically got put on the back burner this year.
Yeah, I get it. My husband just had surgery, so now it's up to me to do everything. He had rotator cuff surgery.
Oh my.
So he's out for 6 weeks. I mean, he can do some stuff with one arm, but not a whole lot. So now it's up to me. And it's between taking care of my son and my husband and putting dinner on the table and changing my son's diaper, and I'm just like, and then yesterday he trusted me to mow the lawn. That was bad. He's like, I'll just wait till I'm better. I'll mow the lawn.
Yeah. Sheena cuts the grass most of the time with the push lawnmower because of the bayou. She'll ride. We have a half acre in town, and it's an odd shape because we have a bayou next to it, and it's a pretty steep embankment. So she'll cut about half the yard with the riding lawnmower, then she cuts the rest of it with the push lawnmower. Then I got to weed eat when I come back in and cut grass.
How, you say in town, do you own property another place, or?
We have some family property about 3 miles north there. That's where my original greenhouse is. And if you go, 3 years back, I think it was, I started putting videos on YouTube. It was Growing Grass, and Growing Grass Hobby Farms was the name of the channel, because I had right at a half acre garden in the ground, and 18 by 44 greenhouse. It was my first greenhouse. Actually made it out of little 18-foot carports. You see them on the side of the road for like $800-900.
Yeah.
The neighbors were moving, and he had 4 of them. So
nice.
I asked him how much he wanted for them, and he's like $400. I'm like, hell yeah, that's a good deal, $400 a piece. He's like, you could pay me $400 a piece, but I wanted $400 for all of them. So I picked up 4 of them.
I love good deals like that. That's awesome.
I never get them. I was excited. So we used that, and we had to do some welding and stuff because I wanted the sides higher than the little, but it worked out well. And but the reason it was growing grass is because nobody would do anything but pick. Yeah. So when I get in from 2 weeks at work, it was get out there with a weed eater, because it didn't even pay to try with a hoe. The grass was
I have to weed eat my garden until I can get some mulch in there, because there's some places that we have the plastic down. It's not plastic, right. It's garden fabric. Yeah, we have that down on most of it, but some of it we don't. We mulched it, and then the mulch has disappeared over time, and I have to go in with I have a little battery powered weed whacker. I go in there and I weed whack everything down. But this is our first year planting squash, watermelon, pumpkins, and they're all doing great. I'm letting the cat out of the bag because I got a garden tour, but I even got a butternut squash already, and I'm so excited because it's my first time growing a squash, and I kind of went all out for Shed Wars, and there's some things that I'm specifically the pumpkin. I'm just happy that I'm being successful at something, because I was so excited about the pumpkin growing. We tried to grow Dill's Giant Atlantic in the past, and it just didn't.
It didn't work out.
It didn't pan out.
Yeah, so. I've tried pumpkins a few times. They never worked out well. We did butternut squash this year, and I never even got around. I wanted to put them on a trellis, and I never got around to doing that. So they were just growing out in the front yard all over the place. We must have picked 100 of them off of the 12 plants we had. Wow. They never got super big. They were all about 10 inches long, and they wasn't real big around. But we were inundated with them. There was so many of them. Many.
Terry had a question. She wanted to know if you put fish in your tanks and make fertilizer that way.
No, that's aquaponics. We do want to try.
Which one would be more successful, aquaponics or hydroponics? If
Jandera, she's from Australia, she has an amazing setup of aquaponics. For the ease of what I do, it's much easier for the hydroponics for me, along with the heat and everything, because we'd have issues with the heat down here. And so, not that she's not having it in Australia. I've watched some of her videos because I do want to do a small aquaponics setup. The kids want the fish and stuff, so I want to see how it does work, and I want to learn how it works out at some point. But the it's, for me, it's just a preference,
Yeah.
The people I've seen in the similar climates to what I have don't do tomatoes well. And tomatoes is a big crop for us.
Yeah.
So, it's my thing would be.
Now, I don't really want to go into it too far because it's really none of my business, but do you sell your tomatoes? Is that what you do?
We did. We had to sell some this year because the people we were giving them away to, we were just making too many.
For the most part, do you just like make tomato sauces and stuff like that?
Actually, we just eat them. We picked. I'll say we picked. We put up about 50 pounds this year of. All I did so far, we want to do salsa with it. We did about 50 pounds. We're going to do salsa with. I blanched them, chopped them. Well,
that sounds good. Oh, I love salsa.
And chopped them. But we like them raw. We just eat them. Yeah. I probably eat 15, 20 pounds a week whenever they're in. I love fresh tomatoes.
Well, they say tomatoes are really good for you. Like there's just things in them that,
Yeah, it's so amazing.
Yeah.
And I mean, just growing them makes you feel so much better. It doesn't matter if you play it in the dirt or anything. When you're messing with plants, the endorphins and stuff it does to your body is just amazing.
Mm-hmm. I have highs and lows. Like when I first start my plants, I want them to survive so much that I'm actually going through like a high and like a really low. There's a really low and then they're growing. And then I'm like, ooh, okay, now they're growing. And then I'm like, then they're not looking so hot. And I'm like, oh man. And then I have my low. And then now like with my peppers, I'm like, yes, something's happening. I'm so excited. It's like, oh my God.
Gardening's amazing. No matter how you do it, it's amazing for what it does for your body. Last year, I didn't do no gardening because I was at work basically for 6 months straight. So I missed the whole gardening season and I could feel it, the muscles and the stuff that I use in gardening, I don't use at work. So I was having back issues again and stuff like that, coming back and working in the raised beds and in the greenhouses and everything. This year, I feel a lot better, and like I said, the endorphins, the high I get just from going out there, you pick 40 or 50 pounds of tomatoes out of a greenhouse. It's like, this is awesome. Then it's like, what am I going to do with all this? It's, the bread trays that the bread people carry around. Yeah. We went in there one day and we filled up 4 of those bread trays with tomatoes.
Oh,
it was just, it was ridiculous. So, it's for us to get 1,400 pounds off of 1,000 square feet. We were very happy with it. But we sold tomatoes. I'm sorry, back to the original. We did sell tomatoes. We sold them at $2 a pound. We couldn't keep them. And people telling us we were crazy for selling them for $2 a pound.
Yeah, Uncle Lau, he's selling his tomatoes for $4 a tomato.
Cool.
He lives in California.
Right. I was the people that were buying it from us, most of them, they can afford it. Some of the other people that couldn't, they can't afford it. And I'm not out there to make a whole bunch of money. I'm just out there, if I can get a little bit of money back to where it don't cost me anything to grow, then I'm happy with it. I basically started this to have something for when I retire, have, maybe a little cash income or,
flea markets every once in a while and
farmers markets or, even selling out my front yard. They have people stopping all the time asking if I'm going to be selling dragon fruit cuttings next year, if I'm going to be selling plants next year. They see the plants growing in the greenhouse and they want to grow the same plants.
That's so cool. Yeah, you're an inspiration to people too. Like they see you doing it and they want to do it too. And that's so cool. I've encouraged a lot of my neighbors this year to grow stuff, and I was so excited, and to get them, into it. And they were like, yeah, I'm like, we had issues in the past with squirrels, eating our plants and stuff like that. And my husband has all these hot pepper spices and stuff that he's made. So I gave them a little bit of that to put around their plants, and now their plants are thriving. They're like, oh man, our tomatoes are doing so good, and it's just so nice to see other people really get into it, because when they see our garden, they're like, man, I want to do that.
And we actually have people that stop, just passing in front of the house, stop and visit, want to look at it, talk about the dragon fruit, talk about the tomatoes. 1 second, the Vineyard Chicks asked, do I deliver to Michigan? No.
Sorry, Vineyard Chicks.
Sorry. The furthest point I want to go up north is Ohio, and that's about once a year. If I don't have to leave my house, I'm a happy person. But yeah, it is. We had some people that were from out of state that were just driving around. They knew people in town. They were driving around and they stopped, is that dragon fruit? And the guy turns around, his wife says, is that dragon fruit? And he turns around, he's, that's dragon fruit. Just ask him what you want. She's like, well, can I have a cut? And I'm like, what kind do you want? Well, I'm looking for a red outside cut. And I'm like, here, we went and cut it. They ended up staying almost 2 hours visiting and talking about the hydroponics. The guy knew,
That's so cool.
He was from California. He was an engineer. At some point, he had done work with hydroponics in different places. So, it's so much, it's enjoyable.
Yeah.
Especially once I'm finished building everything and I'm just planting and maintaining, it's going to be, even more enjoyable because I'll have more time to do stuff like that.
Yeah. It's going to be so awesome. And I think my husband, he's getting antsy now too, because he's having 6 weeks off for his surgery. And so he's out there always looking at his tomatoes and he's just getting real antsy. And so that gives him something to do as well. So
the good thing about hydroponics is it's in a greenhouse. So you're able to control, most of your, the temperatures, and we don't have screen up right now around the bottom. We have 3.5 feet all the way around the bottom of the greenhouse that's open. We're going to be putting screen on that at some point to help prevent the bugs, the worms. We had a bad issue with hornworms this year. And then towards the end, we started having issues with stink bugs and the army worms. That's basically why we shut down the greenhouses when we did.
Yeah. Well, our greenhouse is not technically a greenhouse. It's a hothouse. We built it. It's just something that we built, and we bought the plastic ourselves. And so it doesn't have the sides that come up or anything like that. And this year we had a problem trying to get temperature control, and then we bought shade cloth, and that actually really helped with the issues. We even have 2 windows, and we bought a fan for in there, and it was still it was reaching 100 degrees in there, and it was winter. It was pretty cold out.
2 years ago, it was 19 degrees outside, and we were working in the greenhouse. We had tomatoes, and it was 87 degrees in the greenhouse.
Oh, that's kind of nice,
at 10 o'clock in the morning, 19 degrees outside, and it was 87 in the greenhouse. It's amazing. The smaller, I say a greenhouse, hothouse. To me, it's all the same. But the smaller it is, the harder it is to control the peaks and valleys in the in your greenhouse.
Yeah, because I can't remember all that. I think it's 16 feet, and I can't remember all the dimensions. My husband knows better than me.
Right, but it's the smaller it is, the harder it is to control, and that was the worry I had with mine, going from it was supposed to be 34 by 60 to having a 14-foot 6 by 34 because of town ordinance. So I was worried that, at this time of the year that they would have been baking everything in the greenhouse. And it was actually working well with the 3.5 foot openings on the side. And we have peak where the windows are, the uppermost points. We have a 3 by 4 foot window, or it's just screened in. But we have that open, and we really did well with it. I was surprised. Now, when we put the screen up, that might make a difference on some of the airflow. We might have to put a fan in it to help, move some of the air in it. But it worked well. The sides, having roll-up sides or sides that you can take off on your structure, makes all the difference in the world. Yeah. Because it lets the air pull in from the convection. As it gets hot, the hot air wants to leave out your upper windows, and it'll pull in the outer air, which is normally cooler than it is inside.
Yeah. We were thinking about cutting, because it's wood on the bottom. So we're thinking about cutting holes in that and then putting some kind of vent in there that we can move to the side. So maybe putting 3 or 4 vents down the side, and then, it's ones that we can close up if we need to.
Right. Well, I'm not sure how your structure is made, if it's rounded or if it's just straight sides.
It's rounded.
It's rounded. Some people take it and they'll put a a 2x6 or 1x4 or anything, you know, on one of the edges, and then they run their plastic up to that point, and then they'll have wiggle wire channel, or they'll just use pieces of wood to hold the plastic down to where they can roll the plastic sides up the rest of the way, you know, instead of leaving it. Because once you start cutting sections out, especially on a curved edge, once you start cutting the sections out of the plastic, it's hard to get something that's going to fit back correctly.
Oh, okay.
So by taking a 1x4 and you secure it with the lag bolt or something to the to your hoops, you know, run a piece of wiggle wire that'll hold your plastic down, and then you can just raise your sides up, and it'll let the air pass through, and you're still able to use the same plastic. You know, when it gets cold, you let it down, and you know you can secure it that way.
Yeah, huh. That's something that we're going to definitely have to think about next year for sure. This was like our first year with it, you know, because we built it last fall, and this was our first year with it, and so we didn't really know what we were getting into.
Yeah, well, I mean, where you guys at, you know, it'll be 30 degrees at night, so you have to close the structure up, and you know, possibly put heat, and then it'll get up to 60, 70 degrees during the day, you know, with your plant starts, and that'll easily get your greenhouse 110, 120 if it's completely closed up.
Yeah,
quick.
Exactly.
So it's tough. It's hard over here. You know, we only have, you know, maybe 2 months where we have to close it in and just maybe open a door or open up the upper windows in it whenever we're going to be growing during the wintertime.
Yeah.
But you know, kind of like back to the hydroponics. I use Master Blend. It's a 3-part process. It's a 3-part fertilizer. You use the Master Blend, calcium nitrate, and the Epsom salt. It's pretty simple. You know, most of the time it comes with the little scoop to where you got a half a tablespoon and a quarter tablespoon on each side of the little spoon. And you take that, you fill your spoon up to the, you know, flat across the top, half a tablespoon of Master Blend, half a tablespoon of calcium nitrate, and a quarter teaspoon of Epsom salt. That makes you a gallon of Master Blend it makes you a gallon of fertilizer for your hydroponic solution. That should be right at the 800 ppm. And it's pretty steady, you know, by figuring it out. We mix 250 gallons at a time here, because we have so many plants and they take up, you know, a lot. So we mix 250 gallons at a time. It's like 3 cups of Master Blend, 3 cups of, you know, and besides the first time we did it to make sure we were close with the ppm, we didn't check it again the rest of the year, and we had great results with it. The thing about the Master Blend and most of the chemical fertilizers you use, you know, if you follow what they're telling you per gallon, you're going to end up with the same thing basically every time you make it.
Yeah.
Your ppm schedule. You know, we with the tomatoes, whenever I'm starting tomato plants, we try to run at about 400 ppm, which would be the same thing, the half teaspoon, but with 2 gallons of I said tablespoons before. It's teaspoons, half teaspoons of Master Blend and calcium nitrate, and a quarter teaspoon of Epsom salt. So if you want the 400, you know, you mix it in 2 gallons of water instead of, you know, 1 gallon. And you know, they have different stages. When they get up to about a foot and a half, you know, we put it back. I'm sorry. When they get to be about 4 to 6 weeks into from the seeds, we bring it up to 800 ppm. And then usually when they start to flower and start to produce fruit, we'll bring it up between 900 and 1200 ppms for the fertilizer. And, you know, it's worked out well, really well for us.
For someone new starting out in hydroponics, what kind of advice do you have for them?
Don't get overwhelmed with it. It's not hard. You know, pick what you want to do. And if you can make chocolate milk, you can mix, you know, the fertilizer. It's that simple. Don't let them give you numbers and, you know, throwing out ppms and this and that and everything else. It's super simple. You know, Master Blend, especially, you can get it all off of Amazon relatively cheap. I think it comes out to like 13 cents a gallon for 800. You know, if you mix it up to 800 ppm, it's like 13 cents a gallon, or it used to be. So it's somewhere around there. But so it's not expensive. but just don't get overwhelmed with it. It's super easy. You want to start with a cracky. Get you a $12 tote from Lowe's, 27, 25 gallons. You can usually put about 6 heads of lettuce or 6 leafy vegetables in it, and under some regular shop lights, and you can grow lettuce indoors. You basically set it.
I'd totally go extreme and try to grow a watermelon or something.
People's
have
growing
like this
watermelons.
watermelon up in my house.
People's growing watermelons. With watermelons, you'd probably want to do a Dutch bucket system to where you're replenishing the fertilizer. There's pros and cons. The cracky, it uptakes what it needs. With the watermelon, you'd have to add water back to your tank that you're using because of the amount of time it takes to grow it. So you'd probably want a Dutch bucket to where you have a specific place with the, your root system can grow and attach inside the perlite. And the cracky is just sitting there in the water. There's no perlite, no nothing at all with it. So it's I'm stuck on that. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It's you want to be able to. Each vegetable has its ideal
formula
growing. Growing, leafy vegetables and stuff like that, nutrient film technology and cracky works great. With tomatoes and stuff, it works okay in the cracky. In the nutrient film, you just don't have enough area in most of them for your root systems. A tomato plant will, over about a 5-month period, fill up a 5-gallon bucket with root systems.
Wow.
It's amazing how much roots they have in it.
Yeah.
So it's, again, just like the amount of space for return, whenever you're planting like a watermelon, you wouldn't want a watermelon in a cracky because the amount of work you would have to do with it.
Well, Crystal Copper Kettle Farm says she wants to start doing hydroponics. Just keep Danny's email on you, and maybe he'll answer any questions that you might have about it.
Or on Facebook. You can message me on Facebook also, Cajun Hydroponics. We have a Facebook page. I've actually been getting quite a few people sending me messages. Don't just send a message says hello or good morning. I'm not going to return that. If you have a question about it, just ask the question. Hey, how you doing? This is the question I have, because you'd be surprised how many people just say, hello, how you doing? And then it's like, hey, have you heard about this? No, I didn't. I don't want no part of that. No, I don't want to subscribe to your WhatsApp or whatever. No, I want to grow a garden. That's it.
The Prince of Nigeria always tries to contact me.
But the main thing, just don't get overwhelmed. Don't grow lettuce. Fall's coming for most people. For us over here, and it's not that far away from most of y'all up there either.
So just start off small.
Start off small. Yeah, it's super easy. You could take, like I said, a $12 bucket of from Lowe's or Home Depot or whatever. Drill you a few holes in it. Get you the net cups are cheap. You get like 20 of them for $2 or $3 off of Amazon, and some Rockwell cubes or some Oasis cubes. And
I don't know. Are you familiar with Crazy Ed? He's also in Louisiana. He says, "I'll be like, hey, you Cajun, what are you doing?" Hey, Garden State Gardener, thank you for coming in. I am actually it's 10:30 now, so I'm gonna end the chat, but I want to thank you, Cajun Hydroponics, for educating our audience on hydroponics. I'm sure as long as it's a serious question about hydroponics, he will be open to answering any questions that you have through email or Facebook or anything like that. Just, don't just say hello and don't say anything after.
You won't get a response, but thank you so much for having me tonight.
This is awesome. You're so awesome. I love the way you talk about it. You have such a passion for it. And then I just like talking about plants and stuff. It's so much fun. And Gardener Josh has a really good education about plants as well. So all of us get along so well. And I just love talking about
It's
any kind of plants. It's so cool. And the dragon fruit thing is so awesome.
yeah,
It's so cool.
I got one cutting from it, and before I even had the cutting in my hand, I was looking to buy more when I started doing research on it. The one thing I want to say before we leave, it's when I started again, we all had to start gardening when we were young, and we hated it. When I started gardening again, I got on the Bayou Gardener Forum with Mr. Donald, and there was so many great people on there, always offering to help and offering advice and everything like that. And the only thing they ever wanted back was just share it. Anything that can help somebody else, share it. Don't hold it. And that's all we ask. And that's the best thing you can do is sharing how you grow your food in your way with other people, because even though they can't grow exactly, in their area, I've learned so much from watching YouTube and from people in other areas. It's not exactly how I do it down here, but I was able to, kind of put it into what I'm doing and try to get it doing. But the main, just, help everybody, teach them, share what if they don't want to listen or something like that, all you can do is help. Somebody asks for help. That's the only thing.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us this evening. And thank you everybody in the chat for hanging out with us. If you don't know Cajun Hydroponics, head on over there and subscribe to his channel and learn a little bit about what he is doing over there, because he is doing all different kinds of cool stuff. Also next is Gil over at Gray Man Prepping. His link is in the chat. If you could be ever so kind to go over there and hang out with him for his anniversary party, that would be great. And well, thank you so much, Cajun Hydroponics, for hanging out with us tonight and educating my audience, because that's so much fun.
Thank you. I hope to do it again. I really enjoyed it. It was great.
All right. Well, y'all have a great night. And thanks for joining us. Like I said, members of the Poop Troop, only 99 cents a month. So you can join us there if you wish to do so. And we will see y'all next time. Bye.
South Louisiana, boy, you got to love it. Y'all grow that later.